So today we are going to be talking about super almost white foundations. If you are the palest of pale princesses out there, this one is for you. So in my time right now, I just wrapped up 15 days of foundation yesterday. It's supposed to be relaxing right now and like not filming, but here we are. If you missed that series, I'm going to link it down below because that series hopefully will be helpful for you. But basically, I tried out a new foundation every single day for 15 days. And one of the questions that I received the most during that series was, what are the palest foundations that you own? Ones that are like too light for me. So if you're even lighter than I am and you've tried foundations that I've tried and they're like still too dark on you, then hopefully these are some options for you, because 99% of the foundations I'm going to talk about today are actually too light for me. I struggled for years before YouTube finding a foundation that was light enough for my skin tone. Throughout high school, I had basically like an orange face going on because there just weren't a whole lot of products for people with pale skin. Now, almost 10 years later, I feel like a lot of brands are starting to recognize that there are other skin tones besides 10 middle shades. Whether you're super dark or super fair, I hope that brands start recognizing that there is a market for that. We can also help create that market. So if you ever have a brand that you wish came out with a foundation in a lighter shade, tweet them. We do have the power as consumers to influence decisions. So I believe that. Before we get into this, I just want to say that you should go check out my video on how to love your pale skin, because it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm at now, where I actually love my pale skin and enjoy and embrace it. If you're in the same boat there, I definitely recommend checking out that video. If you are a pale princess and you're stumbling across this video, I do have a ton of videos for people with pale skin. I have a whole playlist that I'll link down below in the description box where you can go through and check out some of those videos, but I hope it helps some of you guys. Alright, so let's get into it. So all the foundations are actually sitting behind this chair. Great decision, Taylor. So if you have super pale skin, one of the most helpful things that I found is foundation mixers. I've talked about Manic Panic Dream Tone for years now. 3 years ago I did a review on this, I'll link it down below. Everything I'm going to talk about today I'm going to link down below, so make sure you check the description box. But this is basically a vegan foundation mixer. You have to be careful with the way that you mix foundation mixers. You don't want to be mixing an oil-based product with a water-based product, because oil and water don't mix. Science. The NYX Pro Foundation Mixer is another option. I have like 5 other foundation mixers. I am going to be doing a whole video on foundation mixers and how to use them properly and things like that. It just takes a while for me to test all of them, but foundation mixers are an option if you are like hardcore struggling finding pale foundation, or if you have ones that are just a little bit too dark for you that you've already bought and you want to make work. These can be a really great option. So I've swatched all of these foundations for you guys. We have 13 foundations to talk about today. So I'm going to show you an overview of all the swatches here so you can kind of see which ones you think might work for you. Then I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on the actual product and touch on some of the pros and cons. Not all of these are foundation formulas that I love and that I 100% recommend. I want to make that clear at the beginning. These are just products that I found to be light enough. So if you are like majorly struggling, you might not find your ideal foundation formula and shade, but you might be able to take that foundation and use a different primer or powder or mix it in with something to make it a foundation that you really love. Not recommending all these formulas. As we go through these, I will tell you which ones kind of stand out to me and which ones I like a little bit more and which ones I'm not the biggest fan of. Alright, we've got an armful of swatches, so let's do this. So this first one right here is the Mehron Celebre Pro in the shade Light 1. This one is super pale, definitely one of the palest out of all of these foundations. This is L'Oreal True Match in the shade W1. So this is, of course, the Kat Von D Lock-It Tattoo Foundation in L42. This is the new Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation in the shade Blanc. This is the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Foundation in 090, which actually looks pretty dark compared to the rest of these now that I'm looking at it. This is the Illuminator Foundation in the lightest shade. Here's Hard Candy Glamouflage in the shade Porcelain. Marc Jacobs Remarkable in 10. Illamasqua Rich Liquid Foundation in the shade 115. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte Foundation in 10. Cover FX Click Stick Foundation, and this is in the shade N10. Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation in the shade Y205. And then last is the Revlon Colorstay Whipped Foundation in the lightest shade. And that one is pretty dark compared to some of these, so I wanted to throw it in there because I feel like that's one that a lot of people have, just so you can see comparisons against other shades. So here's all of them side by side. Alright, so first off here we have the Maron, I still don't know how to say this brand, Maron Lebre HD Pro Cream Makeup in the shade Light 1. So this is more of a theater makeup brand. This retails for $14.50. I used this foundation in a Shadow and Schmooze video. If you want to see how it applies, I've only used it that one time because this was way too pale for me. This is a super, super white pale cream foundation. You basically apply this with a sponge. It has really good coverage and actually has a really pretty finish in my opinion. It is a pretty like moisturizing, creamy, dewy foundation. So if you're oily, I probably wouldn't recommend this one. If you have dry skin, this might actually work for you. I would say dry and normal skin only. So next we have the L'Oreal True Match Foundation, which is like a cult favorite drugstore foundation. This is in the shade W1. I have the shade C1. C1 actually matches me a lot better than W1. Definitely isn't as light as some of the other foundations I'm going to show you, but since this is from the drugstore, it's super easily accessible. They do have different undertones in this. They have W1, N1, and C1. So I would just say pick up all three, play around with them, see which one works. You can try mixing them and just return whichever ones don't match your face. Out of all the formulas I'm going to talk about, this is probably one of my favorites. It just gives you the prettiest glow. It looks really natural on the skin. Next up, we have the Kat Von D Lock-It Tattoo Foundation. I'd say this is the most widely known pale foundation now. This is in the shade L42. It's full coverage, has 24-hour wear, transfer resistant matte finish. This has a super matte finish. This formula I'm not a fan of. I mentioned that before in a few other videos. It's just too matte and heavy and cakey on my skin. I only use this to mix in with other foundations. It also is way too light for me. I have heard that the two shades above this have a totally different formula than the lightest shade L42. I think I am going to try the second or third to lightest just to see if the formula is different and see if I like it a little bit better. But if you're super pale, this one is extremely pale. A lot of people love this foundation, so this is just my opinion. You might love this, you might hate it. Like always, I suggest that you guys check out a bunch of other reviews, form your own opinions. These are just one person's opinion. Me? Hi. Something that I love, you might hate. Something that I hate, you might love. Speaking of things that I hate, this is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. I did a whole review on this during 15 Days of Foundation. This is supposed to be a full coverage, long-lasting stick foundation. It just breaks down horribly on me throughout the day. I tried it with different powders, primers. It doesn't work for me. However, this shade Blanc and the shade Alabaster are both slightly too light for me. Blanc is extremely light. I do commend Hourglass for coming out with a shade this light. I think it's awesome. The formula sucks in my opinion, but I love that they came out with a good variety of shades. So if you saw that review and you think you might be able to make it work on your skin, might be worth giving it a go. Strong might. I'm not a fan of this actual product, but the shade is super pale. Alright, on to one that has a light shade and a good formula. This is the Lancome Tint Idole Ultra 24-Hour Makeup. A lot of you guys have asked me to do a full review on this product. I do have like 2 or 3 Shadow and Schmooze videos where I put it on and I basically give you kind of my thoughts on it. It is too matte for my liking, but if you're someone who is pale and likes a matte finish where it doesn't look cakey and it doesn't feel heavy, this one is really nice. It's long lasting. It is too light for me. I have to mix this one. It has more of a pink undertone in it. So this is the Illuminator Moisturizing Mineral Foundation Dewy Finish. I've never seen this talked about on YouTube. Randomly found this online when just doing research. I haven't tried this yet. I think I'm going to do a first impression on this one. Let me know if you guys would want to see that. But from what I read, it's supposed to be a really nice formula. It does look pretty light. Just watching it on my skin, it definitely feels very moisturizing. Let me know if you guys would want to see a full review on this guy. Next up is one that I feel like I've mentioned a ton on my channel. This is the Hard Candy Glamouflage Foundation in the shade Porcelain. I love that Hard Candy came out with this shade. I stocked up on this. I have like 3 bottles of this product. This is under 10 bucks. It's super pale, it has good coverage, and it is too light for me on its own. So this is one that I do like mixing in with other products for me. If you don't have dry skin, I think this would be totally fine wearing alone. Before this foundation came out, their Glamouflage Concealer was something that I actually used to mix in a lot with products before I discovered foundation mixers. That has really good coverage. It's super light as well. So if you just have the concealer, you could definitely mix that in with other foundations that you own. But this one is just a good product to have for mixing, for on its own. It's cheap. I would definitely recommend that you guys pick this one up. Next up is probably my favorite, not probably, definitely my favorite out of all of these. This is the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation in the shade 10 Ivory. I have the shade 10 and the shade 12. 12 is a little bit too dark for me. 10 is way too light on its own. This is definitely one of my favorite foundations ever made. It has such a beautiful finish. Most full coverage foundation that I've ever owned. It has this like dropper applicator thing, and you literally need the tiniest bit. I usually just use my finger and go around the cap and then put that on a foundation palette and mix a tiny bit in. This is a pricey product, but you need such a small amount that I feel like this would last you for forever. If you don't want a super full coverage foundation, just mix this in with your moisturizer, mix it in with a little bit of an illuminator if you want to. You can definitely shear this down, just apply less, use a sponge. There are ways to get less coverage out of this, but if you're someone like me who has a ton of acne and scarring to cover up, this one is amazing and I think it's worth every penny. Next up is the Illamasqua Rich Liquid Foundation in the shade RF 115. This is one of those products that has just been sitting in my foundation drawer for forever. I think I used this in a shadow and schmooze years ago when I was still in the college house. This one I feel like I definitely need to give another go. Illamasqua does make a skin base in like a pure white shade. This one, I remember trying this like 1 or 2 times, and the foundation kind of reminded me of the Kat Von D, like it was just too thick and heavy for me. But I do want to try mixing this in because it has really good coverage and it is super light. This is definitely one of the lightest ones I have here. A lot of people like this formula, so I'm definitely going to give this another go. I might use this in an upcoming shadow and schmooze or something. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte Liquid Mousse Foundation. I did a review on this a long time ago. This is in the shade 10 Light Porcelain. I have the shade 091, I think it is, 090. I actually swatched them both next to each other, and this one looked lighter to me. This is a lightweight shine control makeup. I do like this when I'm feeling super oily. This is very, very, very pink tones. This is a drugstore product, under $10. If you need a pale pink toned one, try this one. Next up, I have the Cover FX Cover Click Foundation in the shade N10. This is like so baby, so mini. I did a full review on this during the 15 Days of Foundation series. I wanted to include this one because I think this is one of those that is kind of like on the border. This might be a little bit dark for some of you super pale people, but for me, I feel like I can wear it. I just need to wear a lot of bronzer and like a darker powder to warm up my face. It looks like you don't get a lot of product, but this only retails for $18. I broke down the ounces and the price in that video. Good coverage, nice formula. I do like this one. Next is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation in the shade Y205. This is a very pale foundation. This is a good one. If you're like looking at all these options and you think some of them might be too full coverage for you, and you just want a good skin-like everyday foundation, I would say go with this one. You can build it up. For me, it's a little bit too sheer right now with all of my acne and stuff that I need to cover up. You can build this up. I like this 50 billion times better than the original Makeup Forever HD foundation. That one didn't work for me at all. The lightest shade was like straight up orange on me. And just the finish of it and the formula, I was not a fan of the original one. But the Ultra HD is really nice, has more of like a satin finish. I think this could work for dry skin. If you have oily skin, if you set this with a good powder, let me know if you guys want a pale powder video. I personally like mixing this in with foundations. I would probably mix this in with something like the Kat Von D Locket or the Illamasqua foundation. Last up, this is the Revlon Colorstay Whipped Cream Makeup in the shade 110 Ivory. Revlon Colorstay, the original formula, and the whipped foundation are both pretty light for the drugstore. If you're trying to find a drugstore foundation that's pale, these definitely aren't the palest, that's not a word. Definitely aren't the most pale out of all the foundations I'm showing you today, but I just want to throw this one in for comparison because a lot of people own this foundation and own the liquid version, just so you can see how this shade compares to everything else. This is a pretty pale foundation, so if you're like somewhere in the middle between me and super pale, wouldn't suggest this for dry skin since it is like a moussey kind of formula. It's one of those interesting ones. I feel like some people think it's super lightweight and you can't feel it. Personally on me, I feel like I can definitely feel it, but that's probably just because I put a lot of product on to cover everything up. It is waterproof though. It's a good summer foundation if you get oily, and this is just a good affordable drugstore option. So like I said, let me know down below if you guys would rather see a foundation mixer video first or a pale powder video first. I've been like slowly growing my powder collection. If you're new here, make sure you join the Bayrito family and click the subscribe button. We can be friends and it'll be fun. I'm gonna link everything I talked about down below along with my pale skin playlist. If you liked this video and it was helpful for you, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.